starting off by talking about the different claims that Antifa is one of the main forces behind these current riots. We're also going to be going into Rod Rosenstein. You may have seen that he was testifying before Congress. We're going to be talking about the significance of what he said, given that he was the one who really kicked off this whole Trump-Russia investigation. Now, with that said, let's get started. So first off, Project Veritas, this undercover investigative organization, has published undercover videos exposing Antifa. So far, they have 2 videos up. We're going to be talking about the first one for now. So first off, they've exposed an Antifa cell, and it's in Rose City, Portland, Oregon. Now, as one of the first clips on this, we're going to show a few different ones and go over the significance of them. So first off, here is a clip of one of the individuals admitting on camera that they are violent and that they direct members to hide their violent intentions from police.
Be that f***ing guy with the goddamn spiked brass knuckles getting photos taken of you. Police are going to be like, perfect, we can prosecute these f***ers. Look how violent they are. Right? Not that we're not, but we need to hide.
And probably one of the biggest things this video shows is that Antifa has a very well-organized recruitment process.
They reached out to me through Proton Mail, and we went back and forth, and there was an interview set to meet up in Portland. So to verify that it was me, they had me wear a white shirt and have a water bottle and show up at a Starbucks where a person was going to ID me and approach me and asked who I was, and I told them, and I followed them to the destination where the interview was going to be held. There, we went to a place called Imperial. They were getting this tradecraft from someone else, someone with much more experience, someone who did this for a living. With RCA, it seems much more structured, almost like a company or like a business. So, I feel like there is some type of outside funding, influence, or resources being used.
Now, that clip is important for this reason. One of the main arguments that's been made against the idea of the Trump administration, of course, they are talking about declaring Antifa a terrorist organization. One of the main claims to say that that should not be done are claims that Antifa is not an organization, that is merely just an ideology. And so that video clip showing that they not only are very well organized, but have a full recruitment process with various stages of advanced tradecraft in that process does challenge that claim. Now, another clip here. Now, they have a secretive training process with required lectures for prospective recruits. And they're also running out of locations before they open. They also have very organized security protocols, such as individuals having to leave their cell phones in a room with a fan on so that the fan muffles any possibility of surveillance on them. We'll show a clip of that now.
Rose City Antifa holds required lectures for prospecting members in secret at, in other words, bookstore before they open. And as part of their security culture, they require us to put our phones in the bathroom next door. This bathroom is not only away from the main room where the lecture is taking place, but also has a fan that muffles any sound from the room.
And they also instruct members on how to carry out attacks. And they also instruct them on how to hide their identities in order to cover up their acts of violence.
Practice things like an eye gouge. It takes very little pressure to injure someone's eyes.
They do not hesitate to either push back or incite some kind of violence. In our classes and in our meetings, before we do any sort of demonstration or black bloc, we talk about weapons detail and what we carry and what we should have. What is black bloc? Well, this is black bloc right now. The term is used to a tactic in which individuals conceal their identity to look uniform so that no one can be identified in an act of a crime.
Consider like destroying your enemy, not like delivering a really awesome right hand, left eye blow,
Now, what's interesting is right when this video came out, independent journalist Andy Ngo actually filed a lawsuit against this same branch of Antifa. Again, this is the Rose City branch in Portland, Oregon. Ngo is suing them for $900,000 for complaints of assault, battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and racketeering by people who allegedly acted to suppress Ngo's journalism through intimidation and violence. This is according to one of the local news outlets there. And for, quote, ongoing neurological and health issues. Ngo is pressing charges not just against that branch of Antifa, but also against several individuals who attacked him. And that was at a protest on June 29th, 2019 that he was covering. Ngo is notably known for his reporting on Antifa.
Antifa is a violent extremist movement with the training, purpose, and intent of destabilizing this country and overthrowing the Constitution. The cloak of anonymity and the protection of foolish politicians and media have emboldened this movement to carry out unprecedented terror attacks on the American rule of law and American citizens.
So that was Andy Ngo himself on one of his video clips explaining the actions of Antifa and why he filed this lawsuit. Now, there's also rumors that white supremacists are the ones carrying out the violence. We talk about some of this now. There's a New York Times piece that claims, quote, extremists are sparking protest violence, but it questions in this article which extremists. Now, note this article suggests that white supremacists have been getting involved in the protests and that they're allegedly some of the main forces involved behind the violence. A lot of the major news outlets are saying this right now. They're saying that, for example, AG Barr, Attorney General William Barr, when he came out and talked about extremists, did not specify whether it was left-wing or right-wing, and they're suggesting that these extremists may in fact be white supremacists. Now, in that New York Times article, however, if you go about 2/3 down through the article, you find something very interesting. This is from Howard Graves, a research analyst at the Southern Poverty Law Center, who tracks white supremacists and other anti-government extremist groups. He states, quote, I have not seen any clear evidence that white supremacists or militiamen are masking up and going out to burn and loot. That's in the New York Times article itself. These claims don't seem to have a lot of weight. That said, that we will be showing some different evidence of groups being involved to some extent. Going on to some of the statements from Attorney General William Barr around this. Now, Barr claims he now has evidence Antifa is hijacking the George Floyd protests. We'll show a couple clips of what he said here. This is a recent press conference.
We have evidence that Antifa and other similar extremist groups, as well as actors of a variety of different political persuasions, have been involved in instigating and participating in the violent activity. There are some groups that don't have a particular ideology other than anarchy. There are some groups that want to bring about a civil war, the Boogaloo group, that has been on the margin of this as well, trying to exacerbate the violence. So we are dealing with, as I say, a witch's brew of a lot of different extremist organizations.
So just briefly to clarify what A.G. Barr was talking about, he does talk about Antifa, he talks about similar organizations, he talks about other left-wing extremist organizations. He does in fact mention the Boogaloo group, which is a group wanting the next civil war, allegedly. They are considered by many to be right-wing extremists. It's not quite clear what their clear ideology is other than the want for a civil war. So there are various extremist groups who are involved. Now, FBI Director Christopher Wray also had similar statements. We'll show what he said here now.
We're seeing people who are exploiting this situation to pursue violent extremist agendas, anarchists like Antifa and other agitators. These individuals have set out to sow discord and upheaval rather than join in the righteous pursuit of equality and justice. We've directed our 200 joint terrorism task forces around the country to assist law enforcement with apprehending and charging violent agitators who are hijacking peaceful protests.
Yeah, and so a couple points on that. Again, there have been these claims that they're going to be charging these different Antifa-like organizations with terrorism charges, possibly. They're going to be designating Antifa and similar organizations as terrorist organizations. Now, given that they're calling out the Boogaloo group as well, it is possible when they talk about similar organizations that they're not limiting these to just left-wing extremists. It is possible others will be wrapped up in this as well. We'll have to see how this unfolds because the Trump administration has not yet released anything public on these official designations, although they have in fact mobilized different FBI groups focused on terrorism to allegedly look into some of the actions and individuals on the ground right now. Now let's move into the next story. I mentioned in the previous episode that we're going to be talking about Rod Rosenstein and his recent statements in front of Congress. Rod Rosenstein, again, was one of the main individuals who helped launch the Trump-Russia investigation. And there have been various claims on different news outlets on what he actually said. I'll be making my attempt to give as an accurate of a picture of what he actually said here now. So first off, he is the former Deputy Director Attorney General. He testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee on June 3rd. Now, Rosenstein had appointed Special Counsel Robert Mueller to take over the FBI's investigation of Russian interference in the 2016 election. We're going to go into a few things on what he said here now. So Epoch Times had a few stories on this. We'll also be showing some clips from the hearing itself. First off, Epoch Times reported, quote, Rod Rosenstein, who assumed responsibility over the investigation after then Attorney General Jeff Sessions' recusal in early 2017, told lawmakers in Washington on Wednesday that he has read the scathing report issued by DOJ Inspector General Michael Horowitz, which uncovered 17 significant errors or omissions in applications to spy on Carter Page, a Trump campaign associate. And a bit on why that's significant. Basically, the entire basis of launching the Trump-Russia investigation had 17 major issues in it, omissions and problems in the FBI's work to gather and present information. And so Rosenstein himself was given this information, and in his statements he explains that he believes he was given false information. He's now saying that he was misled. And so we'll show a bit of what he said here now. We'll jump into a clip of this.
You signed a warrant application in June of, I think, 2017 to get the Carter Page warrant renewed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Have you looked at the Horowitz report?
Yes, I have. I have it with me, Senator.
If you knew then what you know now, would you have signed the warrant application?
No, I would not.
So in other words, Rosenstein said that if he had the information then that he has now, showing the omissions and the information that he was given that was used to launch these investigations, he would not relaunch the investigation. He would not launch the investigation into alleged Trump-Russia interference in the elections. Moving on to some of the quotes from the Epoch Times story, and then we'll be going a bit more into this. It says, among the reasons he wouldn't, Rosenstein said, is because of the omissions or errors uncovered by Horowitz, including an FBI lawyer altering an email to omit the fact that Carter Page was a CIA asset. In other words, they omitted the fact that Carter Page, one of the individuals who helped launch this thing, was a CIA asset. They omitted that fact when they presented this information to launch this investigation. It also says an Inspector General probe launched because of the number of problems with the application to spy on Page found widespread problems. It says, quote, this is from Rosenstein. He says, quote, I approved the submission of it and 4 federal judges signed off on it too, Senator, because like me, they believe that the information was verified and accurate. The agents had a duty to make sure the information was accurate. And he continued. We'll show a clip of what he said here.
Senators, whenever agents or prosecutors make serious mistakes or engage in misconduct, the Department of Justice needs to take remedial action. And if existing policies fall short, those policies need to be changed.
So again, the Department of Justice needs to take immediate action. What is he suggesting here? Is he suggesting that different members of the FBI who fed him false information to launch this investigation against a sitting president should have investigations launched against him? Probably. There has been talk about this. We'll have to see if anything moves forward with this. We'll continue with a couple more quotes on this. Now, he also said, I don't believe so, when asked whether he knew the 2016 campaign for Democrat presidential candidate Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Committee had paid for the dossier. That was the Steele dossier of these various allegations against Trump, a lot of really wild claims that many of the media had reported on. And they reported on this, and different government officials even stated it and cited from it as quote-unquote, evidence of Trump-Russia interference in the election. That dossier was not only debunked, but it came out that the Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee had actually financed it. And so he says now that I don't believe